morning, Mark.
Good morning.
So, state of the cloud. And I thought we'd start off talking initially about this idea that it might be, is it oversimplifying the appeal of the hybrid cloud environment these days? Because we see companies who have this need for maybe private cloud inside their business, driven by security or privacy. And then they have a front-facing, maybe high-demand need for a public cloud. Are we edging closer, 2015, looking into a new year, you as CTO of SoftLayer, are we looking at hybrid as just the solution for everybody now?
No, I don't think so. I think what we've seen is that if we look at the historical customer base that we had at SoftLayer, pre-IBM acquisition, was very much the web-centric SMB. So born on the web companies that started on the web and built their entire companies on it. And what we're seeing now is the companies that have existing workloads tend to be enterprises, medium size and up. They want to maintain some of those workloads either locally, or they want to move it to a private dedicated cloud within the confines of the public cloud. And so it really, I don't think it becomes the de facto way. I think it is really going to be dependent on the actual company's needs and specifically their workloads.
Okay, so you're probably aware recently with the EU decision around safe harbor and data sovereignty. The private cloud then, to continue what you've been saying, has the private cloud, is it coming back into vogue, particularly regarding data sovereignty and in European countries?
I think it's part private cloud, and I think the other one is just having more choices as to where you can deploy your workloads and data. So if you look at our strategy, which is we've built data centers globally, right? So I think internationally now we have 13 data centers outside of the US. And that's driven in large part by demand from our customers to have a choice as to where they deploy it. Now that choice may be because of local regulations or local compliance, or it just may be getting workloads and data closer to their end users and their customers. And so again, it really depends on the needs of the company, but it's really about having choice.
So it could be as simple as latency, or it could be as simple as data sovereignty.
Absolutely.
It could be a mix of both.
Right.
As a result, so what are you doing with data centers over the last couple of years? Have you been you've moved to open a data center in Brazil and India as well, I think?
We did. So within the last 2 months, we opened Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Chennai, India. Starting last year and through this year, we added 11 international data centers for us outside the U.S. So prior to that, we had Singapore and Amsterdam, but we've had a pretty substantial global expansion, and as well as domestically, we've added additional data center capacity within the U.S.
Okay. Just talking about SoftLayer and about the bare metal business and what you do and how you deploy, it's an interesting choice. Even the buying process at SoftLayer, right, which I think, and you guys have a great way to buy, you make it easy.
Right.
Just talk about how that works from kind of a customer perspective, because very, very nearly the other night, I nearly installed many cores and paid by PayPal. And so the interface is that good. But I'm curious about what happens in SoftLayer when a customer goes through that process and the deployment.
Absolutely. So we have a standardized deployment in every data center in SoftLayer. So we always say that if you were to be blindfolded, dropped into our Tokyo data center, and then put into our Singapore data center, looks, feels exactly the same. And so it's a high degree of standardization and automation. And the core of everything we do is the bare metal server. And it's really the roots of the company. And we've continued to grow and enhance that product set. And it really is driven by performance these days.
Okay.
When companies move to public cloud and they have very demanding workloads, IO-intensive workloads, or special requirements around extreme amounts of memory, a lot of times it's hard to get that, either those options or the performance that you need in a virtualized public cloud. And so we end up with customers that are driving large data sets or data workloads, so big data, or very IO-intensive applications where they need substantial CPU, maybe they need GPUs, but they need to get every ounce of power out of that. And so that's kind of the starting point for us, is that bare metal server. They were able to use that to deploy public virtual cloud. We're able to use that to deploy public dedicated or private dedicated clouds. So that's really been the core of everything that we do, and it's something that we continue to invest in and grow the portfolio.
So it's interesting. So what are we? Is it a year on from the merging with
2 years?
2 years
2
on
years, yeah.
from the merging with IBM, and it was described. I saw it described somewhere as the marriage of the public and the private clouds coming together. So you were originally a SoftLayer
I was.
guy.
Yep.
So how is that whole integration with IBM? And so we all kind of would have a view of what they do, and we'd have a view of what SoftLayer were before you joined. Now, how has that kind of panned out as part of the cloud business?
So I've been through a lot of acquisitions, back in the .com days, and given the size and nature of this acquisition, I think a lot of people were pretty skeptical, but it's actually been one of the better acquisitions I've been through. And one of the reasons is that IBM recognized the reason they acquired us really was to be that infrastructure platform, not only in a go-to-market strategy, but as the basis for IBM services that were either transitioning to cloud or were already on cloud and they wanted to have a cohesive platform. So I think they did a great job of, we always describe it as leaving us alone and then led us to continue to do what we've always done well. And what IBM brings to the table, obviously, is from a sales standpoint, existing relationships with enterprises. But from my standpoint, from the technical geek factor, is IBM research. So us getting to work with some of the best and brightest in the world on what we do next, how we do things, how do we optimize, how can we be more efficient, and ultimately that translates back to customer experience and the product portfolio that we have. So it's actually been a really good marriage of the companies. And you mentioned kind of the marriage of public and private. So we continue to build out our public data centers.
Okay.
IBM has their cloud managed services, which is that managed private. We're able to connect the two together with our global network. So it really gives the customers the best of both worlds. If you have a SAP managed or an Oracle managed implementation and you want to still take advantage of public cloud for bursty workloads or whatever that is, you have the ability to connect them together. So it ties back to choice.
And so talking about SoftLayer then, and so you would have had customers, you had relationships, IBM the same. The typical SoftLayer customer now, has it changed? Has the sort of CIO who's buying, is it a different customer to what you had previously, or how has the IBM relationship changed the people that you guys deal with?
So I'd say it's brought us new customers that we didn't have before. So we always had enterprise, but I would say it was a small number compared to the total number of customers that we had. As I mentioned previously, we were really targeted by those born on the web companies, and they wanted performance, they wanted global scale. And since the acquisition now, we have more of the true enterprises coming in and taking advantage of cloud. And I think that it's not just us, it's the entire industry. Enterprises are starting to finally make that transition to cloud, where it's not just the lift and shift of, hey, I want to try to transition from CapEx to OpEx and move my workloads, but embracing cloud from the beginning of projects. And so we're seeing more and more of that. So I would say we still have our core customer base, but we're seeing just a different mix of customers now that are coming to the platform.
And so generally then, the role of the CIO in today's market, because in a sense the CIO's role in one way has got easier, but he's of course struck by choice, he or she's struck by so much choice. How do you find that kind of interaction with SoftLayer? The CIO, is his big thing now SLAs and quality of service, because you guys are doing such a good job of giving, a virtualized service or a bare metal service? What's the CIO doing? I know people will be asking that question,
So it's interesting. We do have a lot of conversations with the CIO's office, so the CIO and the CIO's office, and it really is a focus on SLAs. It's a focus on options available to them, understanding data locality, where their data is going to be, how they want to dig deeper. They want to understand, how the cloud works. Whereas, a lot of other companies may just embrace the abstraction that cloud provides. We find that enterprises really want to understand more and dig a little bit deeper, which is fine. It's a conversation we're more than happy to have. And so it's one of the other things that we see is it's not just the CIO, right? So we have a number of conversations with lines of business. And it used to be the whole shadow IT thing, but it's
Yeah.
the shadow is really gone now, and it's lines of business are embracing cloud, and we're starting to see where the CIO's offices are recognizing that lines of business are doing that. So you're starting to see a collaboration now between the CIO's office and the lines of business as they make these transitions to cloud.
Okay, so you mentioned different talking to different lines of business then. So has cost is obviously something that we've talked about already here this morning, about the fact that it's come down so much. And so the other business concerns, does it tend to be about privacy, or does it tend to be about the finance guys? When people are buying cloud services now, what's the single motivating factor that makes them choose a provider?
A lot of times it's agility.
Yeah.
How quickly they can get to market with whatever their project is. If it's a marketing and they want to launch a new survey, a new website, a new application,
Yeah.
how quickly can I get it to market?
Okay.
I think that's what we see as a primary factor. And then it's cost. And that agility also ties back to time to market, where historically, if I work with the CIO's office, it may take me 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. If I go to cloud, I have it in minutes,
Yeah.
and I can deploy and be, in market with it. And so that's really the primary drivers that we see.
And so when SoftLayer work with somebody, you talk about that, say, deployment time, be it private, public, or hybrid environment. How much work do you guys have to do? I know you have almost self-service, but it often isn't that simple. Deployment time and time to market for be it mid-size or larger companies, how long does it generally take?
A lot of times it depends on the companies themselves. So if they're technically savvy, they're online, and it depends. If they go with a public, a virtual cloud instance, they can be online in minutes. If you want to leverage, say, bare metal could be 30 minutes, or it could be 2 to 4 hours if you have a really customized solution. So it depends on the skill set that those companies have. And historically for SoftLayer, we've had a very tech-savvy customer base to the point where they wanted to take advantage of our capabilities. They liked how quick it was to get online. And then once they deployed their initial solutions, they didn't want to talk to us again, right? Self-service, just we're up and running, leave us alone.
It. Thank you.
We're good to go,
Yeah. And the types of companies, I know we mentioned, say, the different companies that IBM and SoftLayer would have had previously, but are cloud, particularly, say, hybrid customers, are they getting smaller in size, manpower, but just without growth and ambition plans? Is that
they are?
Yeah.
I think that if you look at that, it's picking the right providers that have the management capabilities to make their staffs more efficient. It allows them to have smaller teams managing the infrastructure components of it, and then maybe they're able to take those resources and reallocate them to application development and areas that can provide more value to the company. And it's our goal to make that more efficient and as easy as possible for customers to consume any of the cloud resources that we have.
So the cloud's not in a bad state after all.
No, it's in a great state, yeah.
Mark Jones, CTO SoftLayer, thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you.